When allegations surface in Washington, the immediate reaction is often denial, followed by careful clarification, and then a prolonged battle over interpretation. In this case, officials were quick to stress that no confirmed evidence supports the existence of an active espionage operation tied to Epstein within the White House. Yet the phrase itself, Epstein spy, ignited imaginations worldwide. It spread across headlines, talk shows, and online forums, creating a perception of urgency that overshadowed the measured tone of official statements. Behind closed doors, staffers reportedly combed through archives, revisiting visitor logs and employment histories. In any administration, the sheer volume of names associated with advisory roles, temporary appointments, and contracted positions is staggering. It's not unusual for someone to have crossed paths with a controversial figure in a prior career chapter. The challenge lies in distinguishing between incidental overlap and intentional infiltration. That distinction, however, rarely trends online. Nuance struggles to compete with sensational phrasing. Political rivals seized the opportunity to question oversight standards. Press conferences became stages for pointed inquiries. Who authorized certain hires, what background screenings were conducted, and were any red flags dismissed? Each question was less about the individual at the center of speculation and more about systemic vulnerability. Lawmakers framed their concerns in terms of national security, emphasizing that even the perception of compromised access could weaken public confidence. Media commentators dissected body language and tone during official briefings. A slight hesitation before answering, a carefully constructed sentence, a refusal to speculate, each element was replayed and analyzed. In today's information environment, perception can outpace fact. The repetition of a claim, even if unproven, can embed it into public discourse as a possibility demanding resolution. That dynamic adds pressure to institutions to respond swiftly, sometimes before full verification is complete. At the heart of this debate lies a broader issue: how influence operates in elite circles. Epstein's history demonstrated how social capital can open doors that money alone cannot. He cultivated relationships that spanned ideological divides. This reality complicates narratives of infiltration because influence doesn't always require formal titles. A conversation at a private event, a recommendation from a trusted colleague, these subtle pathways can grant access without triggering alarms. Security experts note that true espionage cases often unfold quietly, revealed only after painstaking investigation. They caution against conflating rumor with intelligence findings. Yet they also acknowledge that vigilance is essential. The tension between skepticism and caution defines this moment. It is possible to reject sensationalism while still demanding transparency. That balance is difficult to maintain in a polarized climate. As the discussion continues, one thing is clear. The story resonates because it touches a nerve about unseen power. Whether or not a spy existed, the idea exposes anxieties about who really moves behind the scenes. And in Washington, perception shapes policy almost as powerfully as proof. Consider how narratives evolve. At first, it's a whisper, an unnamed source hinting at a concerning link. Then comes a document excerpt, highlighted and circulated without full context. Soon, a headline frames the connection as a question, and the question becomes the story. In this case, the transformation from association to alleged espionage followed a familiar arc. The ambiguity itself became fuel, drawing audiences deeper into speculation. Former intelligence officials weighed in cautiously, reminding viewers that espionage requires intent, tasking, and measurable information transfer. Without those elements, the term loses precision, yet the emotional weight of the word persists. It conjures images of clandestine meetings, coded messages, and covert agendas. The human mind fills gaps with drama, especially when the setting is the White House, a symbol of authority and vulnerability. Political strategists observed how quickly the narrative polarized audiences. Supporters of the administration dismissed the claim as partisan exaggeration, while critics framed it as further evidence of institutional complacency. The debate shifted from facts to framing. Was this a legitimate security concern or a strategic distraction? Each camp amplified details aligning with its worldview. Meanwhile, investigative journalists pursued documentation. Freedom of information requests multiplied. Analysts compared timelines, examining whether any individual with past connections to Epstein held roles that intersected with sensitive policy discussions. Thus far, publicly available evidence has not confirmed the existence of a covert operation, but the absence of confirmation rarely satisfies a public primed for revelation. Psychologists note that unresolved scandals create cognitive discomfort. People seek closure, a definitive answer that restores equilibrium. Epstein's case, with its layers of influence and unanswered questions, remains a source of collective unease, Any suggestion of deeper infiltration reactivates that tension. It feels like a missing piece in a puzzle that refuses to complete itself. Institutional leaders face a dilemma: respond too aggressively and they legitimize speculation, respond too lightly and they appear dismissive. The careful choreography of statements reflects that tightrope walk. Transparency must be balanced with confidentiality, especially when national security procedures are involved. In the end, this chapter illustrates how power, perception, and narrative intertwine. Even without definitive proof of espionage, the conversation forces scrutiny of hiring practices, vetting standards, and accountability mechanisms. Sometimes the impact of a claim lies less in its factual outcome and more in the institutional reflection it provokes.